One of the most powerful forces on the planet is music. The sway it has over our minds is phenomenal. The way we recognise it fast and associate it strongly makes it a powerful tool and has been for tens of thousands of years. It's this ability to make us feel different emotions from music that I would like to investigate. In this programme, I will be taking 5 volunteers and removing the one thing they value most, their choice in music.
By the time the bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight.
Volunteers Eliza Naismith, Sophie Moxon, Louis Priest, Daniel West and Danielle Burnham have kindly agreed to take part in the test I would like to conduct. Hello everyone, welcome and thank you for volunteering to participate in this experiment. I would like to see the effect music has on people on a behavioural and emotional level. To do this, however, I'm sorry to say, I will be taking away your usual list of music and replacing it with the ones on that laptop. You want to have a look now? As the volunteers are finding out now, the list of songs I have given them are entirely ones that are very sad and downbeat.
Great.
Too bad.
We shall check back with them later in the week. The topic of the origin of music is a heavily debated one. This is due to the most likely first awakenings of music being performed via singing, chanting and clapping, and as such there would be no archaeological evidence to give an exact date. The best guesses that scientists have managed to come up with is that the first songs may have been created around 30,000 to 60,000 years ago to coincide with the rise of other creative works such as cave paintings, jewellery and ornaments. The first instrument is also a debated topic. This is an image of a supposed Diwi Ababe flute, discovered in a cave in Slovenia in 1995. It is dated to be 43,000 to 60,000 years old and was carved from the femur of a cave bear. However, the predominant form of human was Neanderthal, and as such, many scientists refuse to believe that they would have been clever enough to craft such an object, so they speculate they are just bite marks from another creature. Evolutionary scientists believe that a musical culture would have helped prehistoric man to survive. This is due to the way music would have coordinated their emotions, help important messages be communicated, motivate people to identify with the group, and motivate individuals to support other group members. Jumping forward in time to ancient Greece and Rome, music had become not only a source of entertainment, but also a large part of their mythology. Most of their instruments had origin stories related to gods and goddesses, as well as having deities devoted to the craft. 2 examples are the god Apollo, who among other things became the god of music, as well as a group of creatures called the 9 Muses. These each represented a different craft within the creative arts, with the Euterpe being the one that was in charge of music. In ancient Rome, music became a huge part of enormous spectacles. They thought it was a representation of the orderliness of the universe. Music also became part of a performing art known as pantomimus, which was an early form of ballet. Music has had other uses as opposed to entertainment. It had prominent purpose in warfare, of which there were 2 main applications. One was when armies were marching, and though the main purpose was to keep them in time, it was used as a morale booster as well. One example is through the chant, "Hitler only has one ball," which provided confidence through comedic lyrics. The second use was on the battlefield itself. The bugle horn would have been used to single out authoritative commands through simple melodies that carried across the armies. The bugle was used due to its lightweight and ability to produce a powerful and precise sound. Though not in use today, the bugle is used at commemorative military occasions in memory of its original use. I think we should check on how our volunteers are handling the task so far.
Week 1 is going alright. I mean, I felt a bit flat at times.
It's just like when songs go on repeat, you kind of listen to them more and then the deeper meaning.
So far, the playlist hasn't been too bad. Like, some of the songs in there I wouldn't say were that depressing.
I think the worst thing is having the same music to listen to over and over again.
I like a lot of the songs on there, so I've got quite a few on repeat, but overall my mood's been a bit down.
Let's see how they are at the end of the week. One of the most major uses of music to boost morale over the years was during World War II. This was as a result of it being the first conflict to occur during an age of mass-distributed electronic music. Many of the popular songs of the decade were once created to reflect the situations that were happening across the nation and Europe. Some of these songs include Run Rabbit Run, They'll Always Be in England, There Will Be Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover, When the Lights Go On Again, and We Will Meet Again, which is playing in the background now.
But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
As mentioned, all these songs were produced regarding a particular situation during the war. When the Lights Go On Again is about the blackouts during the Blitz, and We Will Meet Again was about the soldiers who left to go to war, as well as the evacuees who had to move to the country. Music became an escape from all the horrible things happening overseas in Europe. Recently, we asked the public and our volunteers what music they like and why.
I don't really know what I like. I think I just listen depending on my mood. I think I just tend to like music that makes me happy depending on how I'm feeling.
I listen to mostly pop punk, pop rock, the kind of rebellious music. I like it because sometimes the meaning's deeper than pop songs, because I find pop songs mostly all have the same meaning and the same genre.
I'm into lots of upbeat stuff usually, so it's usually the kinds of house music is especially one of my favourite genres.
I usually like just sometimes the mainstream sort of stuff, like the usual pop. I like it because it's really upbeat, and when I listen to it, it makes me happy.
I'm kind of a heavy metal kind of person, and all the rock. I think it expresses emotions really well.
So why does music have this much power over all of us? Well, according to Julian Treasure, an expert in sound and communication, there are 4 main ways that sound affects us. One is physiological. If we were to hear a sudden or loud noise, our bodies are given the equivalent of a shot of cortisol, which is the hormone that gives us our fight or flight instinct. This in turn affects your breathing and heart rate, though it isn't always unpleasant sound that does this. An example is the sound of a gentle shoreline, which is a similar frequency to the breathing of someone sleeping, and so we find it quite soothing. The next is psychologically. Music is one of the most powerful forms of sound that affects our emotional state. You may have felt slightly happy when hearing We'll Meet Again earlier, and this is as a result of the song being in the major key. It is also due to how we associate the sounds we hear. When you hear that song from now on, you'll instantly connect it to World War II or the 1940s. Birdsong is very effective with this too. When we hear it, we feel reassured or safe as a result of many thousands of years of learning that it means no predators are about. The third factor we are affected by is cognitively. For instance, if you were listening to two sounds at once, forces on the planet people talking, music, you have to zone out one of the voices and focus on the other. Humans have a very small bandwidth for processing sound, so if your occupation resides in a workspace where the sound levels are like this, you would be shocked to know that your productivity decreases by 66%. The final way sound affects us is behaviourally. Especially with music, our moods and actions change, sometimes dramatically depending on what we listen to. For example, if you are listening to a fast-paced song with a quick drum beat, you are going to feel more intense. Some sounds make us feel uncomfortable too, and so companies make sure that whatever jingle they have isn't unappealing to hear. The volunteers should be nearing the end of the first week of the experiment. Let's see what their final thoughts were on that.
I don't really have any opinions. I think I just tend to be a little bit less motivated.
Well, it was alright, just I was a bit down.
Overall, I think that week 1 went quite well. It went a lot better than I thought it would.
I think week 1 is very good. I liked a lot of the songs here.
It's alright, but I could really do with getting back to the upbeat music if I'm honest.
I recently talked to Ms. Cordovan, a psychology expert, and asked her opinions on how music affects us, as well as the experiment I'm conducting. What parts of music do you think affect us emotionally?
I think both parts, the lyrics and the melody and the beat, affect us, but they stimulate different parts of the brain. Therefore, we can get emotional reaction through cognitive side of our brain, where the cognition is happening, which the lyrics would most likely then be processed through through the part of the brain that deals with cognitions and making decisions, and then that would then indirectly affect our emotions, whereas melody and beat would directly play with our emotional reactions. They both equally affect us.
Why do you think people listen to music in general?
Well, there are several reasons. One, if they listen to sad music, it offers them some sort of emotional catharsis, cleansing of their negative emotions or sad emotions. In old times, there used to be lamenters, and even nowadays in some of the East European countries, you will have paid women who would cry at the funerals and sing in order to kind of provide indirectly people a tool to work through their negative emotions. And the music serves similarly to that, as a tool for catharsis. In other situations, it can be a very call to fight, or a call to for their spirit to be risen, to be stronger, to be ready to go and face whatever they need to. So, kind of inducing courage, and most of all, music somehow connects people and makes them feel that they're not alone. There are multiple studies done even in school children. The school children who sing together in a choir cooperate better in the classroom on whatever task, and are more likely to help each other than those who don't. So there's this community aspect of it, and I think people listen to music because they don't feel alone when they do. And there are multiple other explanations why.
What do you think the results of the experiment I'm conducting will show?
Well, it depends. If their situation was personal circumstance and situation was that they were sad already, or they had some issues they were working through, probably sad music will be more pleasurable for them because it will provide some sort of catharsis for them. Emotionally, they will be able to work through the pain or whatever they're going through, and it will be more soothing for them. Whereas they might find the happy music the week after quite annoying because it doesn't match their current mood. It is almost like when your friends want to hang out and do something silly, and you've just gone through a serious loss in your life. You kind of feel annoyed, you're not in the mood. So some may react that way. Whereas individuals who might be quite happy otherwise, and they're positive and something good is going for them, they may feel that the sad music is not appropriate, that it was annoying, and that it was bringing them down because they couldn't relate with it or to it, and therefore for them the happier music might be better matched and more energizing than the sad music. So I do not know. I think it depends on your sample. You might have some extraneous variables, and that being the current emotional and situational state of your participants.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Now let's check back with our volunteers and their second week of the experiment.
I think it's definitely going better than the first week. I prefer the music, I'd say, especially having a few different songs compared to the first week. But I think it's going alright, to be honest.
It's good, yeah, I'm bouncing off walls.
It's pretty good. I'm quite upbeat.
It's still not as upbeat as I usually listen to, but it's definitely more than before. Absolutely.
Week 2 so far is going a lot better than the first week, and overall I'm feeling a lot more happy and cheery.
In the modern age, we have a much higher understanding of music. We've noticed that changing such small parts of a song can change its mood and connotations. In this video of pianist Umi Garrett, she takes the piece The Turkish March by Mozart and plays it with different amounts of emphasis and speed to create different emotions through the piece.
Can you hear the happiness? But if I play it like this,
Actor and comedian Bill Bailey also demonstrates this too when he plays the title song for Match of the Day and plays it slower to create a Jewish folk dance.
If you transpose it into a minor key, you get this.
Today, music has many more different modern applications. One of the main ones is through advertising, either as backing or a memorable jingle for their company. It has also been used for medical purposes. An experiment conducted by S. Bodek, C. Lapp, and S. Evers of the Journal of Neurological Sciences tested the effect of music on the frequency of tics that Tourette's patients exerted. They concluded that active and passive participation in musical activity can significantly reduce tic frequency. Furthermore, there is also medical use in people who suffer from dementia. There is a report of a phenomenal case in which Paul Robinson from Age UK tells of a time when he was playing for an advanced dementia patient that used to be an organ pianist. Despite not being able to recall language, as soon as someone started singing a hymn, she sat at an organ and accompanied it perfectly. Let us now see our volunteers at the end of the second week, as well as their opinions on the experiment as a whole.
I've definitely noticed that I'm more motivated, but I am a bit more easily distracted as well. I think it's been interesting, but I've definitely missed the freedom of having whatever music you like to choose.
I think it was good to learn from because I didn't know music affected my mood that much.
It was really good. I was more upbeat than I normally am. I think the experiment was really interesting. It was different and it made me realise how much music can affect my mood.
Week 2, in the end, it's been much better than the first week. I felt a little bit more in the zone as a result of the second week.
Overall, week 2 was so much better than the first week. I enjoyed the music a whole lot more. Overall, I think the experiment was really interesting because I didn't know that music would change my emotions as much as it did.
So, the results of the experiment show that all volunteers were affected differently throughout both weeks. For example, Sophie enjoyed the first week more, as well as Eliza not being too much affected by the music from that playlist either. This is most likely due to how their music tastes were toward this type of music already, hence why it made the other 3 feel more down than those 2. Furthermore, as mentioned by Miss Cordovan earlier, the reason for enjoying certain songs from both weeks will equate to their mental well-being at the time. Music is an incredibly powerful thing, as we have seen. It has driven our culture for tens of thousands of years. It is so immeasurably influential that even 1-second clips of some music can make us recognise it instantly. For example, if you know this quick clip, you know exactly what is about to surprise you. Thank you for lending me your ears, and I hope you have learnt how music is such an important part in our lives.